And welcome to episode 4 of Lachie's Weekly Footy Roundup. We'll be looking back at the review of round 2, the ladder after round 2, and we'll be predicting round 3 with a rescheduled game from opening round, which did not happen due to Cyclone Alfred. And before we get on to the round 2 review, we welcome our special guest for this week. Give a warm welcome to Mr. Andy Munro!
G'day Lachlan. So a review of round 2. Not a bad week of footy. We started off with the Hawks beating Carlton, and Hawks looking really good. Carlton, slow start to the season, so I'm not expecting a whole lot from Carlton this year, and the Hawks look really good, so they're looking like a top 4 team.
We're starting off round 2 with Carlton versus Hawthorn at the MCG. The Blues took the lead at halftime. We're thinking, well, this could be the team that could beat Hawthorn. But Hawks, they came back as usual to win by 20 points. For the player stats, Mabiel Chol had a very good game for Hawthorn, 3 goals. Nick Watson, the Wizard, Blake Hardwick and Jack Gunston with 2 goals. Josh Ward, James Sicily, Dylan Moore, and I think that was about it with the other goal scorers for Hawthorn. Jack Jetovan didn't do much that game. As for Carlton, the only multiple goal kicker was Zach Williams with 2 goals. For the best players, John Newcombe, once again, he had a very good performance for Hawthorn. 32 disposals and 11 tackles. George Hewitt, he was Carlton's best player with 28 disposals and 11 tackles and 11 clearances. Tom De Koning won the ruck head-out battle with 40. And for Hawthorn, well, this is their first 3-0 start since 2014. As for Carlton, well, seriously, get your act together against the Dogs. If not, well, Dan Gorringe will not be talking about it much on...
Then it was maybe the game of the round. Doggies playing at Collingwood. It was 100 years of Footscray, so they were known as that for the week, the Bulldogs. And Collingwood had a lot of free kicks. They ended up getting the win there by a goal. Typical Collingwood winning by a small margin, and a little bit unlucky for the Dogs. They're still waiting on a few of their gun players to come back into the side. Bulldogs
versus Collingwood at the MCG Friday night. The Bulldogs are celebrating 100 years of being in the competition. But it wasn't the bay. They lost by 6 points. That was the first home game against Collingwood at the MCG since, well, coincidentally, a Friday night game in 1993. As for the Western Bulldogs' best players, Tom Liberatore, 34 disposals and a goal. He's still waiting for his mate Bontempelli to come back. Tim English with 33 headouts. Sam Darcy kicked 4 goals. Speaking of goal kickers, still side bottom, Lachie Schultz and Bobby Hill, 2 each for Collingwood. Collingwood's best player in this one is Nick Dacos again. 39 disposals and 9 clearances. Seriously, give him the Brownlow medal already. We've been saying that for the last few years. Get Nick Dacos the Brownlow before he turns 25. As for Collingwood, well, their season's pretty much on track. As for the Western Bulldogs, well, they came so close, but can they beat Carlton next week?
Then it was the Crows winning by 61 points over Essendon. Really good win. The Crows are looking pretty strong, and Essendon, they're a young side and they're going to get better, but yeah, the Crows are looking fairly good at the moment, which is good.
And next game is Essendon versus Adelaide at the MCG, which we're going to get. Anyways, Essendon versus Adelaide at the MCG. What a win by the Crows. 61 points. Their MCG drought is over. 8 years too long. What a game that was for Adelaide. Ben Keys with 4 goals. Jake Saligo, 2 goals, and he's also had 27 disposals. Jordan Dawson played very good that game for the Crows. So did Matt Crouch. Rochelle kicked 4. Phil Thorpe 3. Fogarty 3. Isaac Rankin 2. Essendon's shining lights that game was Zach Barrett 4 goals and 36 disposals. 3 goals on debut for Tom Edwards. And 3 goals for Sam Draper, even though he played in the ruck. He played centre half forward most of the game, as Nick Bryan played in the ruck all game for Essendon. For Adelaide, well, if they can win games, keep winning games at the MCG, they're going to be a genuine threat in September. As for Essendon, well, they need to start their season off very soon.
Then Port Adelaide, the other South Australian team, had a huge win over Richmond, and Richmond, they played like a low side once again. After their really good round one, they went back to being a poor side, unfortunately, and Port were really strong.
Port Adelaide versus the Richmond Reserves at Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide won by 72 points. Connor Rozee, 39 disposals and 2 goals. Jace Burgoyne, 32 disposals and 2 goals. Connor Rozee, 145 points in fantasy. Mitch Georgiadis, 4 goals for Port. We're still a bit unsure whether Jack Lachie will be back after this game. Willie Rioli kicked 3 goals. Sam Powell-Pepper, 3 goals on his return. Seth Campbell and Harry Armstrong were Richmond's only shining lights that game. As for Port Adelaide, their season is back on track. And, well, looks like a tipping punishment video might be coming up for myself soon because I've stupidly picked Richmond! As for Richmond, what are you doing? Seriously, are you tanking again?
Then St Kilda, they had an upset over Geelong. They seemed to beat Geelong for whatever reason. They match up against them well, and they won by 7 points. Although Geelong had a really strong finish, St Kilda held on, and Jack McRae was sensational for the Saints.
There we go, Saints Cats at Marvel. That's 4 in a row for the Saints at that ground. 7 points they won by. Everyone from the Saints played well in this game. Jack McRae, 35 disposals and 10 tackles. Rowan Marshall, 29 disposals and 32 hitouts. Mason Wood, 26 and 2. Jack Steele, 22 disposals and 13 tackles. Jack Sinclair, 25 disposals and 2 goals. Marcus Windhager did very good that game as well, 25 and 2. Messiah Wanganeen-Malera also played great this game for the Saints. And who remembers Zach Jones? 27 disposals and 111 in fantasy. That's his best game in like a long time. And for Geelong, where only shining light was the multiple goal kickers of Ted Claheisi, Shannon Neal, Tyson Stengel, and Oliver Dempsey. For St Kilda, their season's kind of back on track. As for Geelong, well, you need to be careful. Otherwise, your season might be over.
Then we go to Sunday. It was the Lions beating the Eagles, and the Eagles were up early against the Lions, which was a little bit surprising, but the Lions worked their way back into the game and got the win, as was expected. But that's good signs for the Eagles after a poor start in round one.
Brisbane versus West Coast at the Gabba. Oh my days. What a comeback by Brisbane. And I thought I was going to call the police on them in the first quarter because they were losing by 30 points. But never know this Brisbane side. Dane Zorko, Jared Berry, Lachie Neal and Josh Dunkley all played good. Great in this game, all averaging hundreds in fantasy. The best one of that was Dane Zorko, 28 disposals and 11 marks. 26 of those disposals were kicks. West Coast shining light that game was Tim Kelly. 0 goals, 1. Brisbane, well, they got their premiership. They're still picking up where they left off. Will they lose a game soon? As for West Coast, well, this could be a chance next week in the Western Derby.
Then the next one, North Melbourne beating Melbourne. Now, I wasn't expecting this. They had a massive win by 59. A little bit disappointing from Melbourne, but good for North. They've got a good group of young players there. Paul Curtis is a good young player to go with Sheasel, and Tristan Cherry beat Gawn in the ruck, which is pretty good. A pretty good achievement there.
Melbourne versus Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. What a win by North Melbourne. Who would have thought about that? They won by 59 points. Caleb Daniel with 31 disposals and 778 metres gained. Paul Curtis, 22 and 3 goals. Harry Sheasel, 28 disposals and 4 clearances from half back. Tom Powell kicked the goal. And I think KSI actually loved it. It could put Tom Powell on Coleman medal watch. Speaking of goal kickers, Cam Zerha kicked 4 goals. Nick Lachie, 3 goals. Jack Darling, 2 goals. Melbourne's only shining light was Kay Chandler up forward. 3 goals, and that was about it. As for North Melbourne, their future's still looking bright. As for Melbourne, well, your honeymoon phase really is over. And if you're older players, well, time to either leave or retire. You just got schooled by North Melbourne.
And then Fremantle just lost to the Swans. I thought Fremantle might get a win at home, but the Swans ended up winning by 3, and that could have been the game of the round as well. Actually, it was a close finish, low scoring game, and Swans got their first win of the season, which is good. After a good season last year, they had a slow start, so they're finally off and got their first win. And Freo will be looking for their first win this week.
Fremantle versus Sydney at Optus Stadium. I was hoping Fremantle would win that game, but Jai, being the Jai that is, he was a mess. He missed the chance to win it after the siren for Freo. Chad Warner played very good this game, 26 disposals, 22 of them were kicks, with 727 metres gained. Luke Jackson was Fremantle's best player that game. Well, it was kind of more of a low possession game, Biggie. It was a defensive game, that one. For Sydney, they're finally on the board. For Fremantle, well, you could be on the board next week with the Western Derby. Let's go to the ladder after round 2. First, we got Hawthorn. They are 3-0 at the moment. They're looking really good for the flag. Second, we got Adelaide. The Crows, well, they're playing like the Crows of old. Back up there at the top. Third, we got GWS. They had a bye last week. Fourth, we got Collingwood. Well, their season's kind of back on track. Fifth, we got the Brisbane Lions. Picking up where they left off from last week and last year. Sixth is the Gold Coast Suns. They haven't played yet because they bye last week, and they've only played 1 game so far this year because of the bye and Cyclone Alfred. Seventh, we got Geelong. They are 1-1. They have kind of lost ground a little bit after that loss to St Kilda. Eighth, we got North Melbourne. They're in the 8th for the first time in a while. Rose fans, how does it feel to see you in the 8 again? Ninth, we got the Western Bulldogs. 1-1 after round 2. They've just dropped down to 9th. 10th, we got the Swans. They're back to playing pretty good footy after that win over Freo. 11th, we got Port Adelaide. Well, they're kind of back. 12th, we got St Kilda. Looking really good this footy season. Well, not really good. It's only just 1 win again, and that's a 7.1. Safe to say, well, it's kind of a bit average. 13th, we got Richmond. Oh, doubt my days. What's happened to Richmond? It just fell off. 14th, we got Carlton. Still haven't won a game yet. If you lose this week against the Western Bulldogs, you may as well call Flying Centre because the lowest airfare is guaranteed. 15th, we got Melbourne. Oh, disappointing. They're on 2. Lose to Gold Coast, call Flight Centre. Lowest airfare is guaranteed. 16th, we got Essendon. Essendon. If you don't win against Port next week, well, get ready to book September through Flight Centre because the lowest airfares are guaranteed. 17th, we got Fremantle. And 18 forgot West Coast. Let's see who'll win in the Western Derby between these two in the Battle of the Cellar Dwellers. Whoever loses is going to have to contact Flight Centre. If one of them doesn't win in the Western Derby, well, they're going to have to call Flight Centre because the lowest is a guaranteed.
So my tips for round 3, starting off with Thursday night, Essendon versus Port Adelaide. And I'm going to go Port. Essendon, I don't know why this is a Thursday night game. I don't know if they should really be on Thursday nights. Essendon, and I think Port Adelaide should win that one.
Here we go. Predictions for round 3. Thursday night football at Marvel Stadium. Essendon versus Port Adelaide. For this one, I reckon the Power will get up in this one by 17 points. Best on ground for Port, Connor Rosie, Jace Burgoyne and Jason Horfrasis. Essendon, I'm going with Nate Caddy, Zach Merritt and Tom Edwards.
Going on to Friday, Carlton versus Western Bulldogs. Once again, probably not the biggest matchup, but this is a bye week, so there's a few clubs on the bye. I'm going to go Bulldogs. I'm not super confident, though. I wouldn't be surprised if Carlton had their first win of the season. But the Bulldogs, especially with Sam Darcy, I think he's so hard to defend, and he's going to be one of the top forwards this year if he's not already.
Carlton versus Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium as well on Friday night. I reckon the Dogs will get up by 1 point. Best on ground for the Dogs, I'm going with Tom Liberatore, Riley Sanders and Sam Darcy up forward. Carlton, Charlie Curnow, Paddy Cripps, Harry Mackay, Sam Walsh.
And then we go to Saturday, Melbourne versus the Suns. Melbourne coming off a couple losses, but they haven't been too far out of it. But the Suns, they've had a week off. I reckon they might get a win. They don't typically win in Melbourne, so this will be a great test for them. I think they're a much better side than Melbourne, although Melbourne still have a few good players. I think the Suns are a better club at the moment.
Melbourne versus Gold Coast at the MCG on Saturday. I reckon Melbourne will lose. Gold Coast by 26 points. Best on ground for Gold Coast. 2019 draft class trio and Sam Collins down back. Melbourne, Christian Petrarca, Clayton Oliver and Jacob Van Rooyen.
St Kilda versus Richmond. This should be a big win to the Saints. But it's back in Melbourne, so maybe Richmond play a little bit better. But I think St Kilda, after a good win last week, they'll continue on their run.
Saints versus Richmond at Marvel Stadium. I reckon it'll be the Tigers by... lose! Saints by 62 points. Best on ground for the Saints. Jack Steele, Desai Wanganeen-Malera, Ryan Marshall, and a few more players. Richmond, Harry Armstrong, Sam Law, and I don't know. It's a bit hard to pick from Richmond.
2 Saturday night games, rather. They're both really good games. Hawthorn versus the Giants. This could nearly be a grand final matchup. I'm going to go... Oh, it's in Tasmania, so I'll probably go the Hawks just because of that reason. I reckon the Giants are my premiership favourites at the moment, but I'm still going to go Hawks as my tip there, just because it's down in Tassie. They've got that advantage.
Hawthorn versus GWS at Utah Stadium in Launceston. Well, first game of the year in Tassie. For this one, I reckon the Hawks will get up by 20 points. Best on ground for Hawthorn, John Newcomb, Will Day, Baby Chol, and I reckon Nick Watson. GWS, I reckon their best players I'm going with are Finn Callahan, Kieran Briggs, Jesse, and Toby Green.
Then the other game, Brisbane versus Geelong, it was a relocated game. This was meant to be in round 0, so Geelong coming off a bad loss and Brisbane having a sort of an unconvincing win against the Eagles. It's an interesting matchup, but I'm going to go Brisbane, especially at home, to get another win there.
And here we are, we've got the rescheduled game between Brisbane and Geelong at the Gabba. The game was originally supposed to be played on opening round, but that got moved due to Cyclone Alfred. Finally, I can make my prediction for the Brisbane-Geelong game not edited. I got Brisbane by 20 points. Best on ground for the Lions, Jared Berry, Dane Zorko, and I reckon Charlie Cameron if he's back. Geelong, I'm going with Max Holmes, Bailey Smith if he's back, and Jeremy Cameron.
On Sunday, it's the Crows versus North Melbourne in Adelaide. So I think Crows should get a win here. I know North had a decent win last week, but the Crows have been on a pretty good run and they don't usually lose at home too much. So I reckon there'll be another win to the Crows, hopefully anyway, as a Crows fan.
And on Sunday, we got Adelaide versus North Melbourne at Adelaide Oval. Well, it'll be my first Crows game I'll be going to this season. At last. First going to a Crows game with a new logo. For this one, I'm going with the Crows by 84 points. Best on ground for the Crows, I got Ball Squad. North Melbourne, I'm going with Luke Davies-Uniacke, Harry Sheasel, and I reckon Paul Curtis.
And then the last game of the round is West Coast versus Fremantle with the Derby. And, I think Fremantle should get their first win. Although the Eagles were better last week, I still don't think they're a very strong side at the moment. And Fremantle should be very eager to get their first win of the season. So hopefully round 3 is a good week of football.
West Coast versus Fremantle at Optus Stadium. The battle of the cellar dwellers. We got Fremantle winning that one by 40 points. Best on ground for the Dockers. Shea Bolton, Andrew Brayshaw, Caleb Sarong, Luke Jackson. West Coast, Liam Ryan and Liam Baker and Jack Graham and maybe Harley Reid. We enjoyed it. We'll finish up episode 4 of the Chargab Footy podcast, aka Lachie's Weekly Footy Roundup. We'll see you next week for episode 5. And the guest starter should be coming in this next game is, he used to play for St Kilda. He used to play for Centrals. And he was assistant coach at Port Adelaide. And he's currently the director at Leading Teams, Daniel Healy.